Hello everyone, and welcome to this TEPPEN news update. I am Nintendo. We're back in the studio, and we just got, probably maybe an hour or so before ago, I was trying to see if I could get a hold of James Chen. Wanted to do another discussion thought with him video like we did last time, but obviously the time frame right now between here and America is clearly bad, so not gonna work. So I guess I'm flying solo on this one. I did have an idea how to set this room up so that I could have a second person and try to get his face cam, but it's fine. We'll do this solo, and we'll talk about the updates, the stuff that's coming up pretty much start of November, so after qualifiers and all that stuff. These changes, whilst they're good, they're behind as it is. Honestly, I don't think it's enough. I mean, what I'm seeing is good. It's a really good step in the right direction, but it pretty much just kind of makes two decks the most powerful decks right now. If there are ways around to beat them, I guess we'll try to figure it out, but right now it just leaves two decks right now as the most powerful decks out there. So without further ado, and we know what you're here for, let's look at these changes, because this is the most important part. Okay, so from the development team, thank you for your continued enjoyment of playing TEPPEN. We are committed to encouraging a wide variety of useful decks and strategies that players can create by combining hero arts and cards. We have gone through this some plan, balance, updates, adjustments for this purpose. From the rank match Diablos that started in August 2020 to the rank match Lilith that is currently being held in October 2020. Considering the deck use rate, the win percentages, the matchup states, the deck transitions, and the rank matches, we will adjust the abilities of some cards. Please see the following in each balance adjustment. So, they've been working on this since rank match Diablos. Fair enough. That they've looked at the cards they think they need to be adjusted. Problem is, they didn't even touch any hero arts. I'm going to point that out right now. No hero arts were at all affected in this update. And that's probably what they should have done as well. We needed to see some hero arts adjustments. What else? Like, they hit a bunch of cards. A lot of them came from Adventures of a Tiny Hero. A lot of them did. Let's have a look what's on the chopping block. So, we got, on the chopping block, and so it's all here, Cody from Haunted by Memories, Trevor Alomo from Adventures of a Tiny Hero, Valstrax from the Vault Seekers, Agent's Memories, Haunted by Memories. I freaking called it, and I knew Agent's Memories was going to get nerfed. I knew it. I said it many times in my streams. This card is going to get nerfed. Here it is, and it is a nerf. Shari Shivalda, you're going to see it, and you're probably not going to like it. Rainy Turtloid, Unbreakable Bond. Shara's from Adventures of Tiny Hero. Rainy Turtloid from the Four Seekers. Unbreakable Bond from Day of Nightmares. Trish from Day of Nightmares. Crimson Viper from Adventures of a Tiny Hero. Agile from Adventures of a Tiny Hero. Conspirators Speech from Haunted by Memories. Black Crown's Madness from Adventures of a Tiny Hero. Bloodbath Frenzy from Haunted by Memories. And there is one more card. They didn't put it on the list. When we get to it, we'll get to it. It's at the very last card. But let's go through this. Alright, so first up, Cody. Alright, so Cody is a 3 MP unit. His attack is 3, HP is 3. At memory 4, he deals 4 damage split among all enemy units. When it comes to most on-play damage, I don't mind Cody, to be truthfully honest, because you gotta hit that memory count in order for him to do 4 damage. It's not like other units where it's just an easy, like, I just drop him and I do this damage. He's got a condition that, you gotta work for it, and I was generally fine with that. So the changes they did to Cody was, he's still MP 3 of 3, he still attacks for 3, he still has a HP of 3. His memory cost is still 4, but now he does 3 damage across the field. Okay, that's like 1 attack less, 1 damage less. It's not a big deal. I think it's fine. It's not... Honestly, I didn't really have much of an issue with Cody, because you gotta hit that requirement of memory 4. And some red decks probably don't get to have a lot of actions for him, except for Jill. And Jill was probably the only deck I really ran Cody in. So, whilst it's an okay nerf, it's not a big nerf, and I still think Cody will still see play. It's not a big nerf to him, but it's fine. Next up, we have Trevor Alomo. Now, this was a pretty ridiculous card when she came out. MP of 3, attack of 3, HP of 3. When placed on the field, if a friendly human unit with an MP cost of 5 or more is on the field, she deals 4 damage split among all enemy units. This was a really stupid card combined with BB Hood, or just comboing with, I don't know, when you had... If you drop BB Hood, you drop Rashid, you drop Sheva. There was just so much damage that you were just pouring out for free on this. So now, the change to her... She's still an MP 3 cost of 3, she still attacks of 3, still has a HP of 3. When placed on the field, a friendly human unit with an MP cost of 5 or more is on the field, deal 3 damage, split on enemy. So like Cody, you got 1 point of damage reduction. I think that's okay. I think this is a good change to her, like, honestly, because it was kind of ridiculous, the on-play damage potential she had with most red units. Obviously being 5 or more, but just in general, like, I think it's an okay nerf. Like, I don't think it's the most terrible thing out there. I think she could still see some play. But yeah, like, I think it's fine. I don't see a problem with this much of a change. But I still hate on-play damage. It's still quite strong. Next up, Valstrax. Oh, I remember the days we were complaining about Valstrax. So, before this unit had a MP cost of 5, attack of 2, HP 5. Had flight, rush, agility for an epic unit. God, those were ridiculous stats that it had, and just all the benefit it had was ridiculous. Now, he's an MP cost of 4. This monster in Monster Hunter got an MP cost of 4 now. His attack is 2, and his HP is 3. His HP got dropped. That makes him pretty fucking weak. And he only now has flight and agility. I do not see Valstrax being played at all, to be truthfully honest. Maybe you might still see some Valstrax plays, but he no longer has the rush. The rush is gone. It just has flight and agility. But that HP reduction, I didn't expect that. I expected at best it losing rush. It to lose 3 HP on top was like the Beltway nerf. It's probably not going to see much play anymore. Not only for the fact that it was only really played in, I think, a couple kind of red decks and some black-red monster variation decks, but monsters were really underrated and they were just never on par with the top-tier decks, and Valstrax kind of just helped with those decks a little bit. But now I think Valstrax just really won't see play anymore, to be truthfully honest. I think it's just dead. It's just dead now on arrival. So, we salute you, Valstrax, and goodbye. And maybe we'll still see play, but honestly, bye-bye, Valstrax. Next up, Agent's Memories. Like I said, I freaking called this nerf. I knew it was going to happen. Didn't know when, but I had a feeling, and I was hoping in this patch, this card was going to get nerfed. And lo and behold, it is. So, before it was a 2, because this card was just ridiculous of what it could do. I mean, yeah, we all know how good this card is. It's kind of just ridiculous how good it is. So, at cost of 2, you deal 2 damage. At memory 7, you deal 7 damage to either a unit or the enemy hero. Same vice versa for 2. Now, it's still an MP cost of 2. It deals 2 damage to the enemy hero or the units, either one. And at memory 4, it now deals 5 damage to the enemy hero and the enemy unit instead. 5 is a pretty big change to this card. Like, this card just lost a lot of value, but I still think it could see play. The memory count is definitely a lot lower now, memory 4, to just deal 5 damage. I mean, you could still work this card. You just have to now get your opponent's HP down to 5 instead of 7. So you got a much tighter restriction to use this card to save face and kill them with. Other than that, I think this is a good change to it. Honestly, this card was just kind of ridiculous. Because it's a 2 cost. It's a 2 cost to do so much damage, and especially to hit face. To take games away from most people. Because you could be losing and you get this and you kind of just hit them for face and you win. For 2. So, bringing this down, I think, to have a cap at 5 now damage at memory 4. Yeah, that lowers the bar threshold of trying to hit your opponent for face, but at least that opens options to hit your opponent's monsters and all that stuff. Like memory 4, technically not that difficult to get to, but I think that's a pretty decent change to Agent's Memories. I'm not gonna lie, I was calling for this nerf, so this nerf has happened. I think it can still see play, but probably not as much. But I might be wrong, and I probably think people still might try and play it. Next up, Feline is actually getting a nerf, and this is in par to Nero. So Nero pretty much got nerfed off this as well. So Feline is an MP3 unit with an attack of 1 and HP of 5. Tribe was Beast and Monster. MP boost is 20. When played, if there's at least 3 different tribes of different types of tribes among friendly units, gain a shield. Wait, is it really 3? I thought it was just 1. When did that change? I thought it was just if you have at least a different tribe, he gains a shield. Anywho, here's the change. It's now no longer a beast monster, it is actually just a beast. So Nero now loses 1 extra attack. That really does weaken Nero a little bit. Quite a bit, actually. Still in a 1 attack and HP of 5, MP boost is 20. When played, if there are at least 2 different types of tribes among friendly units, gain shield. I always kept thinking it was 1. But, okay, whatever. So they've made its second part a bit easier. But now, Nero doesn't get a massive buff. Just by playing Feline and dropping Nero. Nero doesn't get that buff anymore. So Nero kinda got nerfed off this. I would say definitely got nerfed. But Nero's still pretty damn good. So you've gotta just be a little more patient when dropping Nero for green. So, a decent change. And I'm fine with it. Like, I'm not too big fussed over it, but yeah, I think it's a fair change on Feline. Alright, here we go. The card that pretty much everyone kind of hates now, Shara Ishivalda. Before, this was an MP8 unit with an attack of 2 and HP of 10. With spillover, after taking damage and surviving, it gains +1 attack and shield. The dumbest effect I've ever seen on a card like that. So this is the change. MP of 8 still. It has an attack of 2. Its HP is now 8. Still has spillover. After taking damage and surviving, gain 1 attack and shield. So you're telling me the best they could do to the most dumbest card, most degenerate card for most decks, is to reduce its HP by 2. Well done. That really does a lot to change this card. I'm kind of really annoyed. This is not a good change. It's like freaking... What was it? Lilith giving her +1 attack? When we all saw that, we're like, oh yeah, that's such a good change. I mean, it kind of works now with some of the cards they released to help Lilith. Because Lilith can work with the Growth Purple deck, which I showcased before, but like, a 1 attack? Shara Ishivalda losing 2 HP. Hello, if it lost gained the shield, I think it'd be fine. It doesn't bother me that it gains +1 attack, but the problem is that it kept gaining a shield, and you know how annoying that is? I think you're probably still going to see these decks, because it still keeps getting a shield. Even if it has 8 HP. I don't know. Maybe this is a good... I don't think this is a good change, to be truthfully honest. I don't. But it might change up how the matchups are. Oh, I don't know, honestly. Maybe its MP cost should have increased. I don't know. But 2 loss on its HP is really not much of a change to this card. Still gaining its benefits, even taking damage, is just, alright, whatever. Yeah, I'm not exactly thrilled about this change for this card, so you guys can make of it what you want, but I'm not exactly happy. But the next card, not this one, but when we get further on, we'll go. Rainy Turtloid. Before, MP of 4, attack 1, HP of 10. When it ascends, it gains +3 attack and spillover. Really cool shit about Rainy Turtloid. Now, is it still MP cost of 4, attack is 1. His HP has dropped to 7 now. Still ascends to gain +3 attack and gain spillover. They reduced the HP of Turtloid by a lot. I didn't expect Turtloid at all to kind of be hit by nerfs. Well, I was kind of surprised. Probably, but then again, probably shouldn't have been. Like, it is a pretty damn strong card for green, and they do use it a lot. So, it losing 3 HP is kind of pretty important because, you know, it's no longer this big unit on the field. Shink Hadouken just knock it out in 1 attack now. Like, that's the thing. Like, if it was being 10 HP, it could survive Hadouken. It can't now. It actually just dies. Yeah, this is a pretty big nerf to Turtle, I think. It's still a big threat on the field, but it's definitely a lot easier to take out now. So, yeah, that's a pretty big change. Rainy Turtloid there, guys. We'll have to see how much of the decks go, but there might even, with Turtloid, it may even drop down to 2. It probably won't be run at 3 anymore. Probably drop down to 2, just because 7 HP, that 7 HP nerf is pretty. I think that's pretty big. It's kind of really damaging for Turtle. So next up is Unbreakable Bond. Because of Ishivalda, they actually went after this card. Because I don't think this card never really saw play, and never was utilized to copy anything. But ever since the Ishivalda stupidity came out, this is what this card was went for. So, Unbreakable Bond is an MP cost of 5. It copies a friendly green unit and places it on the field. Okay? That's annoying because Ishivalda, copy it, annoying. Now, it's an MP cost of 7. And copies a green friendly unit and places on the field. I don't know what... I don't play the Ishivalda deck. I don't know what the Ishivalda players are going to do, but this kind of really hurts the concept of the deck, because you want to get Ishivalda on the field, and the idea is to copy it so that you can never run out. Because of an MP cost of 5. Because it's an MP cost of 7, that's a massive investment just to copy Ishivalda. That means green loses a lot of MP and then has to regain all that MP back. That's a lot to invest to copy a card. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Like I don't play these type of decks. So, but MP cost of 7 to copy a unit. I think fine, sure, because it brings it back fresh with all its stats, with obviously with no buffs or anything, but brings it back full HP and defense, normal attack. All effects are there. So, I think MP cost of 7 is a decent change to Unbreakable Bond. This came out in Day of Nightmares, and it was only being used for Ishivalda decks. I don't see it used anywhere else, and we probably won't ever see it used again. So, that's a pretty big nerf there to the Ishivalda deck. So, thankfully, that's a nice change to it. But I guess Ishivalda's still gonna be play, most likely. Next up, Trish from Day of Nightmares. Trish saw a rise thanks to Purple Black Devil Trigger and Tenkuha, just because of all the stupidity that Black had to basically help buff the crap out of purple cards, her and Crimson Viper. So they've done a pretty big nerf to Purple Black Tank. The Purple Black Devil Trigger is pretty much kind of dead now. With the cards with the changes coming, it's kind of dead. So, Trish was an MP cost of 4, 1 attack, 6 HP, Resonate +1/+1. Now, she's an MP cost of 4, attack is 1, HP is 4 now, so she's even weaker. And Resonate, if this unit's attack is 3 or lower, she gains +1/+1. The minute she goes over 3 attack, she doesn't gain +1/+1. I don't even know if she'll even gain on her HP. But it looks like, basically, this is a cap on Resonating. And I think they should kind of do this for a lot of resonating units. I think this is a good step in the right direction when it comes to capping a resonate unit. Because you don't want the resonate to just be stupidly out of control and can't fucking stop it. This literally stops the resonate unit, because the minute it goes, its attack is 3, she can't gain +1/+1. So she can gain +1/+1 3 times. You resonate once, she's a 2/5. You resonate again, she's a 3/6. And that's it. She can't gain any more stats. So that's a pretty big nerf to her. You could still buff the card in general with cards that give, but her Resonate is capped off now, and I think that's a really good nerf, and I think they should implement that for a lot of Resonate units. Just have that Resonate cap, that they can only gain so much once they hit a certain threshold. And Trish is probably the best example right now because they've done it. They're doing it right now. All these changes, guys, will be coming next month. So this is probably really good. It's a massive nerf to her, but I think this is a good nerf, a change in the right direction for when it comes to resonating units, to give them a cap so that it can't become too stupid that you can't deal with it. Like the issues we had with freaking Green and X and just Charge Shot. Like, I think this is what they should have done. Instead of just destroying X completely by nerfing the crap out of Charge Shot, give units that have a Resonate a cap by literally by stopping the cap at a certain point. That's it. Like, there's no point to the unit has reached its maximum potential. Only thing you can do is just give it other stats from other cards. that actually improve its stats, but its own resonating can't do anything more to it. Like Diablos, for instance, the 5-cost one that gains HP every time you resonate. Like, if it says once this card reaches 10 HP, it will no longer gain stuff. So that means it has a cap. That means, okay, cool. I can actually, once they get it to a certain threshold, that's it. I can't do anything about it. I can actually focus on it. So that's a pretty big change to Trish, and that's a pretty fucking big nerf. So I'm gonna point that out there. All right, next up, Crimson Viper. This is why I said Purple Black Devil Trigger is pretty much getting nerfed. Before, she was an MP cost of 4 with attack of 2 and HP of 4. Resonate gains plus 2 HP and gain combo effective for 1 attack. Alright? Which was infinite, so she could always gain 2 HP. And now, Crimson Viper has an MP4 attack of 2. She gained 2 HP. Okay. When played, she gains combo effective for 1 attack. She no longer gains HP. This has effectively weakened the crap out of Crimson Viper. She can't gain endless HP, and she just gains combo for 1 attack. When we get to the other cards, you're gonna see, the purple-black deck is kinda just gone. But this is another massive nerf, I think, to Viper. No longer gaining the HP to keep it alive, it's just stuck now. The combo is still good, effective for 1 attack, but it's fine. But like the point of the purple-black was for her and Trish, because they could keep gaining more stats on top of their stats, and now they really can't anymore. Or it's just whatever you give them to give them stats now. So pretty big changes actually, and I kind of like them too. All right, everyone's other favorite unit that everyone kind of got on it. I love the duel. I love the infinite revenge cycle because I don't know. I'm a fan of the revenge decks. Okay, I'm a fan of Sigma. I like it. But I can respect and understand the fact that this kind of got busted. It was really fucking strong. So, they've changed that. Agile was an MP cost of 3, attack is 2, HP 5. Ascended, he gains +1 attack and revenge, +2, +4. So he was always technically coming back every time you ascended him, a 5/9 units. Quite strong for a 2-drop. Ridiculous, actually. So now, the change is MP of 3, still attack 2. Its HP is dropped by 1 now, which is good. It now has revenge once only. It no longer can infinite revenge, so the infinite title still belongs to Sigma, and I hope Sigma just keeps the infinite revenge. I like it on him. But when it comes back, it gains +1, +2. So it gains a 3/6 when he comes back. When you ascend with him, he gains +1, +2. So, if I read this correctly, so let's say if you play Agile, you ascend on top of a unit, you automatically go to 3/6 on Ascension, right? When it dies, it gains +1, +2. So it's already a 3/6. So when you drop it again for another Ascension, it's now a 4/8. Which I don't think is so bad. So it can no longer infinite revenge. It's now just a 2-time use of a revenge unit. I still think this is still a good card to play and use in decks. It's not a massive nerf, Agile, but I think it's a fair nerf to the point that it's like the infinite revenge only belongs to Sigma. Agile can come back, but Agile's not completely this big freaking unit on the field. But, like, you know, revenge is, at best, if you can't ascend, you're bringing it back as a 3/6 unit, which isn't impossible to kill for a 2-drop. That's okay stats. That's reasonable stats that most people can just be like, I can deal with it. So I think this is a good change to Agile. It's a good nerf. It's a fair change. I'm happy with it. And I still think you can still see a lot of play with Agile. But, you know, just it no longer is just this infinite revenging dog that has ridiculous stats. So it's a one-time revenge. So this is a good change. Like, I don't mind this dog in this changes. I still think it's going to see a lot of play still. It's not completely destroying the unit. It's just a nice change, like Cammy, where it was fair that to the point that it's a one-time use. So Agile technically is a one-time use, but 2-time use with revenge. So good changes, good stats. Yeah. Next up, Conspirators Speech. The card that saw the most play out of Zishinku. and whatever red-black deck they could come up with. So before, this card is an MP cost of 1. It gives a unit death, sacrifice 2 life. Memory cost is 2. Give that unit death, sacrifice 4 life instead. Memory 2. Sorry, I read that entirely weirdly. It gives a unit death and sacrifice 2 life. At memory 2, you do 4 life instead. That's what it did. Now, still an MP cost of 1. You give a unit death and sacrifice 1 life. So now that they lose 1 life, that's a pretty big nerf there. At memory 2, it goes to 2 life instead. This is a massive nerf to Conspirator Speech. I still think it's good, but this is a pretty big nerf. Like, you could stack it. 4, 8, 12 was maximum. Now it's 2, 4, 6. It lost 6 damage, basically. Conspirator Speech lost 6 damage. I think that's a pretty big nerf, to be truthfully honest. And, like, at best, 2 speeches in a deck. Technically, some decks were already running at 2 now. There were some changes when making it run at 2. You might even see it only at 2 of these cards. Maybe none at all. Like, I mean, oof. Speech is still a good card. It is just a 1 cost. It is a good cycle card. But yeah, these changes are interestingly good. I think it's good changes. It won't be played as much. Still might see some play out of this card. I still think we do. Will do. But we're not gonna see a lot of change. Well, not a play now. I think this changes up Zishinku, but I think Zishinku can find other cards to replace it with. To be truthfully honest, the way red plays now with the growth aspect, I think they can find other options. So, that's Conspirator Speech. Moving on. Right. The card that made PB work so well. Black Crown's Madness. So, before this was an MP cost of 1, you sack 3 life, you remove 3 cards from your deck and gain 2 MP. The value out of it was really good. It was like, alright, yeah, this is good to do. I sack 3 life, I remove 3, it's random, but I gain 2 MP. For a dual color deck, this is an amazing card to run in black. Not anymore. MP1, sacrifice 6 life, remove 5 cards from your deck from the game, and gain 1 MP. Black Crown's Madness is now dead on arrival. I do not see this card being played at all anymore. I will not play this card. I do not see the value now in sacrificing 6 life to remove 5 cards to gain 1 MP. Especially even in a dual color deck. Hell the f***ing no. This card is done. This card is done. I think, honestly, I think some other players, maybe some people could see ways to play this, but honestly, no. I do not see value in removing 5 cards from my deck. This is not sending 5 cards to graveyard. This is removing them from the game. I do not see value out of it. I do not see value in sacrificing 6 life to do this. Unless there's some weird way to play Spike Launch now where I could play this to give myself 6 life points of damage to remove 5 cards to gain 1 MP. Unless there's some weird aspect in playing Spike Launch in order to do this, Spike Launch is the only deck I could see doing this. But even they probably won't do this. Like, do you honestly really want to lose 5 cards out of your deck for 6 life? Like, that's the choice right now. Do I want to do that? So I think this card's dead. I honestly think it is. Black Crown's Madness, you were awesome for the first month. We salute you and say bye-bye. It's been great. Next up, Bloodbath Frenzy. Now, this was an interesting card. This was kind of a really broken card. So, MP of 3, you sacrifice 2 life. You give a friendly unit +1/+2. At memory 2, give that unit an additional +1/+1 and spillover. At memory 4, additionally, that unit performs an instant attack. That's kind of busted. I'm not gonna lie, it is, and it's probably broken. Basically, at memory 4, I can sack 2 life to give a unit +2/+3 spillover and an instant attack. This is why Tyrant aggro was busted, because Super Tyrant with this stats was dumb. Orochi with these stats is dumb. Any black unit with these stats is dumb, but mainly Super Tyrant. So that's what it did. Now, I don't see a reason why you would play this card. MP of 3, it still sacrifices 2 life. You give a friendly unit +1/+3 and spillover. So now it's capped its limits. And you can now only perform the instant attack at memory 10. That literally nerfs this card the crap out of. Memory 10 pretty much, I think, puts this card out of commission. It could see play, but I really wouldn't count on it. Because memory 10 for black is not something black generally goes for. The only card that we really go for a memory count is Rabel's Memories. But that's a memory count of 6 or 8. And the only deck that can technically do that would be Ouroboros. Ouroboros could still run Bloodbath Frenzy, because they'll probably hit a memory of 10. But honestly, this is a pretty big nerf to this card. It's still sacrificing 2 life, which kind of surprises me. I figured they would have increased the sacrificing of life to use this card. But yeah, they're giving 1/+3 and spillover. That pretty much, caps the buff it can get. It still gains that spillover, which I think is still pretty weird, but okay. But you can't get the instant attack until you hit memory 10. So yeah, like, you could use this card just to get +1/+3 and a spillover. That seems like just like a normal buff that green could do without the sacrificing of life. But like, green could technically could have a card like this. Green could technically have these exact same stats, and at memory, I don't know, 5 or 10, it heals for a certain amount of HP. Like, these changes make it sound like almost like a green card to me in my head. But yeah, this is a pretty big nerf to the card, I think. And I honestly don't think we'll see the Tyrant aggro deck as much as people have been playing it. After this month, I think the deck will pretty much see itself out the door. So yeah, good changes there. Good changes. I'm happy with these changes, honestly. Kind of annoying how it was originally, but it's good to see that, yeah, it really kind of just negates, like, I don't see a reason why I wouldn't play this card. But yeah, it's just how it is. Now, finally, the last card that didn't show on the list, Betrayal. I don't know why it wasn't on the list, but it's here. Betrayal from the Force Seekers. So, I think this was actually one of my favorite destruction cards out of black, because it actually was it was an investment, and it would pay off pretty well. And now it's going to pay off even more. You're going to see Betrayal a lot. This card got a buff. So before, it was an MP cost of 6. It would destroy an enemy unit with an MP cost of 6 or less. And then it would send all copies of that unit card in your opponent's deck to the graveyard. So if they played it, if it was in their hand, it was saved, but if there was in a deck, all copies would be sent to the graveyard, okay? Now it does this. Now it destroys an enemy unit with an MP cost of 6 or less, so it still does that, still an MP cost of 6. After it destroys the unit, it removes all copies of the destroyed card from your opponent's deck and graveyard. So now, black players are definitely going to be running Betrayal more, but the thing is, players now have to be aware that if they've got copies, they're going to get completely removed, not just sent to the graveyard. This is a massive buff to Betrayal for black. And it's a big buff. Like, this is a pretty damn big buff. Like, I can get rid of, let's say they've got, what's the green unit with, Crush, not Isan, no, that's the red unit. Let's just say, okay, Rashid, okay? They're running 3 copies of Rashid. They drop Rashid. I do Betrayal, okay? They don't have Rashids in their hand. All Rashids are gone. That one Rashid I destroyed will be in the graveyard, but the other copies are removed from play. You will never see those Rashids ever again. This is a massive buff to Betrayal. And I honestly feel like Betrayal is going to see more play now. Most black players are sticking to the 5-cost destructions because there's just more value out of them because they're cheaper. But honestly, I feel like Betrayal's buff should see some more play out of it, because look, to basically remove from play the other copies of the cards from your opponent's deck and graveyard. It doesn't matter. That's the thing. That's the other thing. Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're in the deck or graveyard. It matters if they're in the hand, because then they're saved. But if they've got stuff in the deck or graveyard, it's gone. Like, that's just like a massive remove from play card, and I kind of dig it. I kind of really dig this change to Betrayal. But yeah, that pretty much is it, guys. Those are the changes. Those are the buffs and changes that we got. That they announced. And I was having a quick chat here with in the TEPPEN Dabbles stuff there with us with the commentary crew. A few of us were talking because it is a ridiculous time in the morning for most Americans right now. Let's see. The changes are late, and it's not really with what the current meta is. That's the thing. Right now, the meta, whilst Black still had a pretty strong grip on things, they basically took out one deck. Maybe two. But Red still is very powerful. Red Ami, Red Growth, Red on play is still very strong. Green has Yawn. That's still very strong. That's like Green's best deck. Purple's got some decks, but they're just not top tier. Maybe they could see some more play after next month. Out of Black now, I would say the PB deck is gone. The Tyrant aggro deck is pretty much kinda gone. It could still see some play with some adjustments to it. But it won't be as stupid as it was. Ouroboros could still shine. Black still has Raging Demon. I still have Raging Demon. The problem is, I think they didn't address hero arts. I think that's what they really need to do. They need to address some hero arts. They really need to change those up. They still need to address a bunch of red on-play damage, because it's still kind of busted. The combination stuff that came out with Growth, with the new cards, kind of just really elevated the potential red. It just grew. Like, people, like, I talked to a couple people red, and just like, red is now just has the best deck. Red literally is probably the most powerful deck right now. Because with these changes starting next month, red will just be the most dominant color, and I'm expecting to see red in the grand finals at Worlds. Like, I honestly am just expecting to see red throughout the entire next month. I mean, you could see some other colors, but it's mainly going to be reds. They'll probably just be reused in Amis, mostly Ami decks. Yeah. It really doesn't fit in with the current meta. Like, they really needed to address the stuff with the meta now. They looked at what was happening last month, but shit's changed. Like, the meta completely fucking changed. Starting when Ami came out, the meta completely changed. So yeah, whilst the changes are good, that could have been so much better. Hopefully, maybe they start doing more updates. Like, we get more and more updates. I really hope they do. But for now, guys, I think, look, those are my thoughts right now. I think some people in the community probably might agree with what I'm saying. I honestly feel like these are good changes. Like, they hit Black a lot. They addressed a lot of issues with Black cards. And I think that's really good. There's still a few Black cards that probably need to be addressed. Living Death is still probably the biggest issue. And Living Death is like the one card that a lot of people really want to see changed. And I hope they do address Living Death at some point. And Mr. X Tyrant really needs to be looked at as well. Like, there are still some other cards of Black that need to be addressed. There are still some cards out of Red. There's still a lot of cards out of Red that need to be addressed. But, you know, they didn't hit a lot of red cards. They just hit one action. Still a shit ton of actions that are dumb. And they hit 2 units. Cody really wasn't a big deal, to be truthfully honest. When you look at the way Red plays, Cody's not a big deal. Cody's alright. It's the other units. It's the other units that are a big deal. And yeah, like, nothing was said was out of Purple, because Purple has nothing. Purple literally has nothing to complain about. Purple got nerfed already, and Purple's just like hanging on by a thread. Purple has something, but it's like, maybe next month we could see Purple really come out of their shell with the growth stuff. Or whatever, I don't know. Purple could see some working, you know, the whole... I'm seeing more Temptation decks coming back into the fold, because that's what's working right now, and that's probably what we're going to see a lot as well of the start of next month. We're going to see Red's superiority, we're going to see the green Yawns, maybe some Nero decks might do what Yawn is doing. I noticed I got a comment of asking about where a Nero deck is. I'm sorry, I will get to that Nero deck eventually. just waiting on green getting some good stuff out of Hero Us because Bjorn's the only best one there is. And probably purple will start doing the Temptation decks because that's what pretty much is, or Darkness Illusion. That's what the purple decks go for now. And the growth stuff is what's really strong as. And black will probably be sitting on Ouroboros. And I couldn't tell you right now, but I don't think there will be a lot of Tyrant aggression decks now. The PB deck is dead. I think it really is. So, I mean, True Asian could still pull something out of his ass and come up with a cool new way to play PB Devil Trigger. I feel like he could do it, but honestly, the changes really dropped Crimson Viper and Trish down. The only really good one unit that dropped was the newest 4 purple, the one I talked about. I threw it in the deck, and I think some people threw it in as well. What's her name? She has combo and agility. I forgot her name. She's hot card. I forgot her name, but she's a 4-cost that has 1/6. They could still do something, but I think the PB Devil Trigger is kind of dead. So, I have noticed that Devil Trigger Burn Dante is coming back into the fold as well. So, yay! More annoying decks, but this is what's happening. This is pretty much how things are going right now. But yeah. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Tell me what you think. Do you like these changes? Do you hate these changes? I'm like, they're good. They could have been so much better. And I'm not exactly convinced enough by these changes. There are good changes, but I'm just, I don't know. I'm not exactly 100% convinced by these changes, but it's in a good position that they're listening to some of the feedback, but man, it's behind. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Tell me, do you enjoy, did you like it? And thanks again for watching, guys. I appreciate it. As always, stay tuned. We'll be coming back with some more content, obviously starting next month. Maybe I can try to come up with some content before, but yeah. Thanks again, guys. We do have the TEPPEN trial, not the trial cup, to qualify. I'm playing in the qualifiers as well. I might put some videos up of me doing it, how I went and all that crap. But yeah, thanks again for watching, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have a nice day, and yeah, let me know in the comments below and all that stuff. And yeah, peace out, everybody. Bye-bye.